How's everybody doing? Awesome. Well, thanks for coming out, guys. I know it's a busy morning for everybody, so I do appreciate it. First, let me begin, if I can, by sincerely thanking Steve Clark for the work that he has done at the ministry before my becoming the minister. I know some of the work that he's done in helping tackle the Housing Supply Action Plan has really helped put us on a track to building more homes faster. In fact, as the Premier stated yesterday, we've seen more home starts, new home starts over the last 2 years than we had seen in 30 years. So I want to thank him very, very much for that. He will, of course, continue to be a very, very important member of the team in the caucus going forward, and somebody whose advice I've always valued a lot. I also want to thank the Premier. I want to thank the Premier and my caucus colleagues for the faith and the trust that they are putting in me to become the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. It is obvious that it is a very important time and it is a very important commitment that we've made to build 1.5 million homes across the province of Ontario by 2031. It is something that the Premier has reiterated to me before I took the job. But he also said to me that it is important that all of the work that we do is done in a manner that maintains the public trust. And so with that, the Premier, as you know, yesterday directed me to begin a further review of the Greenbelt. A complete review of the Greenbelt. As you know, the Greenbelt was scheduled to be reviewed by 2025. It's part of the legislation that was put in place at its creation. We will begin that review very soon. I've spoken to my Deputy Minister yesterday and asked her to put in place a fulsome review of the Greenbelt, to give me options for that review to ensure that it is a public, open, and accountable process. As I said, once I have that, I will be coming to you, but that review will start very, very soon. Honestly, looking forward to that process. At the same time, as the Premier said yesterday, the review will include the 14 parcels of land that were removed from the Greenbelts. We will include that in our review. But at the same time, I have spoken to the provincial facilitator yesterday, lands facilitator yesterday. I reiterated my commitment to ensuring that we get shovels in the ground, but also to ensuring that on the 14 sites that she continue her work, but that work must include significant community benefits. As we've said, that community benefits have to include roads, schools, community centers, hospitals, and a protection of any natural heritage features within those sites. Once that work is completed, and I'm hoping to have that work completed by the end of the year, we will make that public. We will ensure that you have access to what it is that we are considering on those sites, and that will then be fed into the full review of the Greenbelt. That will be underway by that point. So it's two levels of accountability, and I think it's very, very important that we continue to do that. We want to, of course, continue our work on building 1.5 million homes, but we want to ensure the highest level of accountability on those sites and on future sites. At the same time, I will be moving to ensure that there are additional accountability measures moving forward. So I've asked the department to give me recommendations and options to revise the ministerial zoning order policy. I want to be able to restrict the transfer or sale of lands and make this retroactive to 2018. I want to ensure that any lands that have been rezoned using a ministerial zoning order for the purpose of meeting our goals of building 1.5 million homes are used for that purpose. At the same time, and speaking with a number of our municipal partners, I have heard more than once, as I'm sure many of you have, the need to look at a new policy of a use it or lose it. We have heard far too often how the extraordinary good work that our municipal partners do and the time and resources that they spend in moving forward on development proposals, only to have developers sit on those allocations of water and sewage. And I want to have, I'm working with my department, and I've instructed them, as I said, to bring forward a use it or lose it policy. We, as the Premier has said, and all of us have acknowledged, we are in a housing crisis. We have to put shovels in the ground, and we are relying on our partners in the development industry to get those shovels in the ground faster. So I will be looking at options on that. I will also be looking at further options for speculation and cancellation penalties that will be implemented through the fall economic statement. I also want to work with the Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery to look at additional consumer protections. I'm looking at options for increased penalties for cancellation of purchase agreements and increased penalties for extortion of purchase agreement. And I also want to work with the Minister of Finance to potentially increase the non-resident speculation tax. You know that we obviously already have the highest tax in Canada, but we are looking to see if we can make that even fairer. So these are a whole suite of measures that we are bringing in place to ensure not only the highest level of accountability in the process to build public trust, but at the same time to be able to live up to our commitment of building 1.5 million homes across the province of Ontario, working with our municipal partners to respect the work that they are doing and putting the development community on notice that bad actors will not be tolerated, that it is our intention to build. It is our intention to build homes for the people of the province of Ontario, all types of homes, and they will work with us. We will remove obstacles, but we will also remove those who do not want to live up to the standard that we are setting. We expect shovels in the ground, and we expect our partners to work with us to get that done. And with that, I'm pleased to take any questions.
Minister, with the review,
yep.
Not much has been said about what the actual parameters, the actual criteria for this review will be. One review could be, where can we build housing everywhere? We're in a crisis. One criteria might be, let's look at the original goals of the Greenbelt, the environmental sensitivity and all that. So we don't know much about that. And when you also haven't mentioned the 800 applications that the Premier mentioned yesterday several times, existing, many of them long-standing applications to remove, that he said they'd all be looked at. So is this review actually where else can we chop up the Greenbelt review, or what is it?
Well, look, it's a mandatory review that had to take place, as we said, by 2025. I'm accelerating that to begin almost immediately. I'm asked the department to give me a full suite of recommendations how that review can take place. As I said, it'll be a full, open, and accountable process. It will look at the entirety of the Greenbelt. There might be lands that need to be added to the Greenbelt. There may be some lands that are removed, but it will be a fair and open process that will live up to the spirit of the original intent of the Greenbelt.
It's conceivable that review will say these 14 sites, some of them don't make the cut.
100%.
Put it back in.
Yeah,
so
and
you're committing now to.
Well, I want to be clear on this. So the provincial facilitator, I've given her a clear a mandate as to what I expect to happen with these 14 sites. As I said, it's very, very clear. We're building communities. I expect significant community benefits on these lands. I expect the natural heritage, any natural heritage features on these lands to be protected. I will make that public, her work. I will make it public when it is completed, and then I will feed that work into the review of the Greenbelt that will be commenced sooner rather than later.
So the department says, look, the Dufferin Rouge lands should have been left as agriculture, as they had been for decades. You would say, okay, I agree, I'll put them back in.
Look, I'm not going to presuppose what the work of the review is. I think what's important is that we come up with a framework that is open and accountable, that respects the intention of what we want to accomplish, both not only in building 1.5 million homes, but also in preserving our natural heritage.
Minister, are you saying that even if there is some significant construction on these lands, and your review process then determines that these lands should have been in the Greenbelts, what happens then? Would you stop construction and revert the lands back to the Greenbelt?
Good question. Look, the reality is that I've asked the facilitator to complete her work by the end of the year. At that point, I will certainly make the results of her work public. Shovels in the ground by 2025 is what my expectation is on those sites. But if they don't meet the requirements under the Greenbelt review as well, as I said, the mandated Greenbelt review, then they will not proceed, and we will remove those lands from the Greenbelt. At the same time, as we said, on MZOs, on speculation, We will not hesitate to remove lands, whether it's an MZO, if they do not meet our goals of building 1.5 million homes. We will take action on both on those developers and on the parcels of land.
Can you tell us what kind of screens you have put in your office to ensure that no one in your office has any direct communications or contacts or receives any kind of USB keys or packages from members of the development community? Is there a hard cinder block wall now between your office and developers?
Look, Colin, the Premier was extraordinarily clear to me what his expectations were. I also it took some time, as I'm sure all of you did, to read some of the recommendations in the Auditor General's report. And I will ensure, by working with my deputy and my team at the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, that we have a process that is public, that is open, that meets the highest of ethical standards. That includes myself and my office.
But are you implementing some kind of a wall?
Sorry.
So are you implementing any kind of wall here? Is there any instruction from you to your staff, you know, to not have any communications with developers? I mean, you're the deputy chief of staff, who's now the interim chief of staff, was named in this report, the Integrity Commissioner's report, as having dinner with those in the development community. How are you going to prevent that from happening? What policies are you putting in place?
Look, as I've said, once I undertake the review of the Greenbelt, we open up the review of the Greenbelt. I've asked the department to give me recommendations on how that review should proceed. And I will follow what the department has put in place. At the same time, I will obviously, as I expect everybody, my colleagues and myself, reach out to the Integrity Commissioner to ensure the highest of standards are met with myself and my team. It's been the way I've governed myself, and that's the way I'll continue to govern myself and have the exact same expectations of people that work with me.
Are the instructions that you're giving to municipalities contradictory here? Because on the one hand, I understand from mayors and local planning officials that the province is negotiating community benefits, that they're still going forward with planning the urban boundary expansion, some of which does go into land in the Greenbelt. And now you're also doing the review. Isn't that creating a greater degree of uncertainty for municipalities and a lot more work for them to do down the line?
Yeah, no, I think just the opposite. Look, the municipalities that are assisting us with the provincial facilitators work right now have been, very cooperative with us. But we have heard that if we are going to be building 1.5 million homes across the province of Ontario, that we have to get this work underway. Look, we've done a lot of work in the lead up to this with, transit-oriented communities and housing supply action plans every single year to move the obstacles, to remove obstacles and help us facilitate our desire to build these 1.5 million homes. By reviewing the Greenbelt now, moving it up sooner, it helps to alleviate some of the pressures that might have been built up in the system. So I actually think it is the right time to do it, and we can gather all of that information from our municipal partners at the same time. Look, I think they all share the same goal. I don't think anybody has disagreed that we need to build homes across the province of Ontario. I think we're all unified on that. My municipal partners that I've talked to are unified. When I'm out in my community, people are saying we need more homes. People are nervous about it. But I think we can do it in a way that rebuilds public trust in how we're doing it. But the ultimate goal is to build homes for people, and we will work with our partners, and we will get that done.
Minister, there's an overwhelming sense that people don't want building on the Greenbelt. Your government is down in the polls. Why not follow that 15th recommendation from the Auditor General that the Premier didn't mention yesterday, and at least return these 14, 15 sites to the Greenbelt now?
Well, to be clear, what we are doing is we are moving forward with the provincial facilitator. I've asked her to continue her work that she has started, and I will submit her work after making it public. I will submit her work to the Greenbelt review that will be underway by the ministry. As I said, I've asked the ministry to undertake to give me options for how that review would take place. It should be open and public. And it should allow us to have the highest accountability and public input as possible. So not only will that work continue with the provincial facilitator, but it will also then be submitted to the Greenbelt review that we are undertaking.
Your review of MZOs as well. Is the government committing right now to not issue any MZOs until that review is done?
No, look, I want to have a review. I want to make sure that the MZOs that we issue are for the purposes that we've established them to do. Okay, so when we issue an MZO, look, in long-term care, I've asked for the minister to, when I was Minister of Long-Term Care, I asked for an MZO to help me build a long-term care home. Where I ran into obstacles with municipal partners who just didn't want a long-term care home for one reason or another, I have asked for a municipal zoning order to help me on that way. So no, they are still an important tool. But when it comes to our progress to building 1.5 million homes, I think we are very clear to our partners in the development industry. When we issue an MZO, it is expected that that MZO is used to help us gain, make up ground on building those 1.5 million homes. That's what they're issued for, and that's what we expect our partners to use them for. At the same time, I think equally important, I've heard it constantly from our municipal partners, how much work they put into this when they take the plans from developers, the allocations of sewer and water, and then the developer does nothing with the permit and sits on that, and then thereby restricting other developments down the line. That is not acceptable to us. It is a waste of taxpayers' money. It's a waste of resources and does nothing to help us build 1.5 million homes. So we are putting the development community on notice as well that we will be moving with a use it or lose it policy at the same time. Look, we have a goal. We want to build these homes. We're going to build the homes. We will meet our targets, and we will get make progress on this.
Minister, is it possible more lands could be opened up for development during this review?
Look, I'm not going to. I'm not going to presuppose. I'm agnostic to what. I'm agnostic to what the process of what the final resolution is. I think the Auditor General was very clear that politics should be removed from the process. That a thorough review should be undertaken. That was the mandate of the legislation when it was introduced, and that was what the 10-year review is all about. We will put a fair, open process in place to provide the height of accountability, but and public participation in the process, and we will move it in terms of being political decisions to one that are made with the support and assistance of the public service, but more importantly, with people and rebuilds public trust in the process.
Minister Clark is responsible for the collapse of public trust in this process. Is he at fault for what has happened here?
Look, Minister Clark, as I said in my opening remarks, Minister Clark, each and every year that we've been in government, has put forward proposals to help us alleviate the pressures that we're seeing on building across the province of Ontario, where there's transit-oriented communities. Each and every year, a housing supply action plan that we as a government, we as a cabinet, and as a caucus have always supported. We are in an incredible challenge right now. We have to build homes. We have to build homes in every part of this province, and he has done remarkable work on that. Having said that, it is very clear that the process that was undertaken for the initial 14 sites was not one that can be supported, and is not one that that builds public trust. That is why we're undertaking the review of the Greenbelt now. That is why the work of the provincial facilitator, just to be clear, the work of the provincial facilitator right now will be made public and will be then further subject to the Greenbelt review. But I will not be stopped. I have to be honest with you, I will not be stopped on our mission of building 1.5 million homes. This is a priority for us, and we will remove obstacles and we'll find ways to do it, but we will do it in a way that ensures that we retain the public trust every single step of the way.
Okay, you're not willing to acknowledge that he is responsible for what has happened. How can we trust that you will do anything differently than he has done?
Look, I have the benefit of Auditor General recommendations. The Premier has given me clear direction on what his expectations are of me. First and foremost, to build 1.5 million homes, to ensure that the height of that we rebuild public trust where it is required, but at the same time, to ensure that we conduct, that we hold everybody accountable. We're going to hold developers accountable for the work that they are committing to do for us, whether it's through MZOs or whether it's through the planning process. We are going to ensure that any changes that are made to the Greenbelt are done in an open and accountable way. This is an opportunity for us across the province to really start to make even more significant headway in helping reach our goal of 1.5 million homes. I'm actually quite optimistic of what we can do. We're listening to our municipal partners who, look, at AMO, I heard this constantly. We do all of this work. We put significant resources into getting permits, and then a developer will sit on that allocation for years and not get anything done. And then we as provincial government come to them and say, move on, let's get it going, let's build more homes. So we are responding to that today by putting the developers on notice that we're going to do that. We can always have better processes, absolutely, but that's why I think the review of the Greenbelt right now makes sense, right? So that I can put those 14 parcels that were removed already under the microscope of a review as well, both in terms of what we are wanting to accomplish and both in terms of what the Greenbelt review will do. I'll come back to your
last question. So you mentioned a number of things that you're going to do to speed up homes, the MZOs, the use it or lose it, but there's still so much stuff in the Housing Affordability Task Force, whether it be 4 stories on every street, 6 to 11 on transit routes, unlimited by the major transit areas. Why isn't that something that's on the table?
Look, I don't disagree. There's more work to be done on that, and I'm undertaking a review of that as well, and I will be happy to come back to you with some of the progress in the near future that we've undertaken on that. Okay.
Will you release it?
Sorry, I'll go over it. Yeah.
When you sat in cabinet and these 15 sites were brought to you, did you have any questions?
Look, I'm not going to break cabinet confidentiality, but to be completely clear, I was very supportive of removing lands for the purposes of meeting our goal of building 1.5 million homes. I think we can accomplish the goal of building 1.5 million homes while respecting our natural heritage at the same time. I'm very familiar with this site. Obviously, it's in my backyard. I was a federal member of Parliament in that area. Look, when we brought in the Rouge National Urban Park, when I was a federal member, the very same parties that are now out there screaming and hollering about this all voted against the creation of the Rouge National Urban Park because they wanted to reforest the area. In fact, the provincial government at the time refused to transfer the lands into the Rouge National Urban Park. The Liberals, when they were in office, were the only government that evicted farmers from my riding to build the Bob Hunter Ecological Park. A family that had been on their land for 200 years, they evicted them, not to build homes, but to build an ecological park. Every single one of those parties voted against the creation of the Rouge National Urban Park because they wanted it to be reforested. And this is an area that still the federal government contemplates building another Pearson-sized airport in. So I am very confident that we can meet the goals of building 1.5 million homes for the people of the province of Ontario. Like it's unacceptable to me, frankly. You have people now, even my own daughter, who thinks that she'll never have the chance to buy or rent a home, that it's out of reach for her. 17 years old. It shouldn't be where people are at. So I think we can I think we can manage both, right? I really do. I think we can manage both. I'm very optimistic about where we can go on this. I think we can manage our natural heritage while meeting the goals of building 1.5 million homes. And thank you all. Thank you very much for being here today. Appreciate it. Thank you.